That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, and we're doing another Blu-ray review. That's right. We're going to be talking about the film The Fear from the 1995, directed by Vincent Robert, someone I'm not too familiar with. This was his only directorial credit, but he did work on a couple very important films, Kindergarten Cop and Space Jam. That's both said with some humor, but also a little seriously. I think Kindergarten Cop is great, and people still adore Space Jam, though whether they enjoy it for realsies or ironically, I do not know. But it's not what we're talking about today. Talking about The Fear, released by Vinegar Syndrome somewhat recently, and it is of course, a pretty good release, as Vinegar Syndrome is known to do. So what is on the disc? Well, newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original camera negative. So yes, in typical Vinegar Syndrome fashion, this does both look and sound good. A brand new commentary with director Vincent Robert. Brand new commentary track with executive producer Greg H. Sims. Both good, solid work here. Face to Face with the Fear, a 50-minute making of documentary featuring interviews with the crew and the cast. Very surprising to see this here because this covers not everybody, but it feels like a pretty good amount of the cast and crew are in this and talking about what they did, what they worked on, and their experience working on the film, which is pretty neato. And that's it. But a pretty solid disc. I'm going to go ahead and just give this a solid A for multiple reasons. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome's almost always going to get at least an A. We've got two commentary tracks here, a new scan, and this great feature. But for an A+, you got to pack more on the disc. But that's not even a complaint. An A is a great score. And this is a great release of a pretty okay film. Not a favorite. I always remember seeing this cover at the video store. And I have never seen this movie. So I'd been dying to see it. And if you know one thing about me, it's that any film cover that I remember from my childhood, I have to own it. Because number one, I got to see that movie, and two, I have to own it because I just feel like I've waited forever to see that movie as if it's my destiny. And there's quite a few, so this is one of them, and I can finally cross that off that old bucket list there. And it was pretty okay, like I mentioned, but let's get into it. What is this about? Well, IMDb says a group of college seniors spending a weekend at a cottage for a psychological experiment called Fear Therapy find a lifelike wooden figure called Morty, which triggers everyone's deepest and darkest secrets and emotions. Yeah, that's about it. You've got our main character here, Richard, and he is doing his psychological thesis about fear. And he rolls out to the family cabin with friends, and there's just this big wooden mannequin in a drawer. They pull it out, they all tell it its fears. It scares the shit out of Richard, which is crazy that he's like, yeah, let's pull out this wooden mannequin and everybody party with it. But they do, and some fishy business starts to go on as the mannequin starts to appear in random places. Also, our lead character Richard is plagued by dreams of strange figures in the woods that he's with. And there's some cool plot points there. I don't like to do spoilers, so I won't get into them. But they all end up going over to Santa's Village, which is really cool. When I was growing up, we used to see these commercials for a place called Santa's Village. And so watching this movie, I had never been there myself, but I definitely remember it from those commercials because they're everywhere. I'll probably drop a clip in there or two. But I could totally recognize it for the commercials. So definitely bonus points to this movie for that, because I really liked all the Santa's Village stuff, even though there's not a lot of it. It was really cool. So you do have this overarching plot, right, of this dude doing his little thesis project here on fear. But then you have all these other weird plots, too, that just start coming up in this movie. You've got this crazy campus rapist thing. I know, that's from out of nowhere for me, too. But the movie opens up with that. And then it resolves with it, and that's weird. And then you've also got some weird incest stuff that happens in this movie. Things I didn't account on being in this movie. This dude who also wants to bang his sister. It's just weird. And it was very surprising. I thought this was going to be something straightforward, but it's And it is, but it also isn't. In that, I give it some props, I guess, for wanting to do so much, but it doesn't exactly handle it in the best way. Another thing worth noting here, too, in this movie, is Wes Craven is in this, which is very surprising. I didn't expect Wes Craven to be in this movie, so when I saw him in it, which he's very prominently in the beginning of the film, I think I texted some friends like, hey, I think Wes Craven is in this. But in my head, I'm like, this can't be Wes Craven, because why would he be in this movie? But apparently Wes is a friend of the executive producer, Greg H. Sims, who he had introduced to a friend who ended up shooting Nightmare 3, so they've been homies for a while. He talked to Wes and was like, hey, I want you to be in this movie. We're not going to, put you in the lead credits. You're not going to be on the cover or anything, just in this role. And Wes ended up doing it. So it's kind of neat. He definitely doesn't bring a ton to the table. He's not that integral to the film. He's playing a solid little role there, but he does well with what he's given. I kind of like seeing him in film, now that I think about it. I like him here, and I like him in New Nightmare. And I definitely don't recall him being a great actor in New Nightmare, but there's something about his presence that's kind of warm. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, but there's definitely a familiar, warm, grandfather-ish feeling to him being around. And I could be wrong. I mean, yeah, he's made some terrifying and gnarly movies, but his presence just has a certain warmth to it that he brings to being in a film. Very odd, especially for someone who's not an actor to invoke that, at least in me. So the film does, like I mentioned, do quite a few things, but it doesn't get too interesting until it gets to a certain scene involving magnetic letters on a board. And that's when the mannequin stuff really goes into overdrive. And there's some really great imagery here. I've tried to put some of those scenes into the screen caps, but I don't know if they'll do it justice. The mannequin starts moving on its own in a very creepy fashion, which, yes, as you can very obviously tell, the mannequin was a man in a suit named Eric Weiss, who does a great job being a mannequin. I mean, granted, it's not the hardest work, but he does it pretty damn well, and I really thought he delivered some great movements. And it's as if he's possessing someone in the cabin, and that scene was genuinely creepy as well. So I really liked there. The kills weren't anything to write home about, nothing too gnarly or crazy. But the last 20-30 minutes or so of this movie where the mannequin starts acting up, that's when I really dug this movie. And understand you probably shouldn't have had more of that in this type of movie, but I really liked it, and I would have liked more of that. I kind of read a few reviews of the second one because there is a sequel, and it didn't sound too promising, while a lot of people really do love this movie. So if the sequel gets released by Vinegar Syndrome, maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But I'd say, who am I kidding? I'll probably end up picking up a sequel too. Why not? I've already got the first one, right? I'm a collector, and I gotta collect. But anyways, enough rambling. Overall, it's a solid flick. I don't love this. I probably would rewatch it again. Maybe I would show it to somebody on a Saturday evening. It's a decent flick though, but nothing to write home about. But anyways, of course, let me know what you think. I am Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because it is just too long for Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.